My name is Anthony Rosus, and at 49, I've spent the last 10 years as a shadow in my daughter's life, as if I'd been erased from her world entirely. It was like my existence had been wiped clean. My name forgotten by the one person who once meant everything to me. But everything changed when she came back into my life, her carefully constructed world now in ruins, seeking help. Let me take you back to where it all began. I was 36 when my ex-wife, Vanessa, blindsided me with divorce papers. Our daughter, Kayla, was only 9. Vanessa didn't just walk away. She fought for sole custody, painting me as emotionally erratic and demanding supervised visits. Despite having no history of instability, no record of anger, no outbursts, and years spent coaching Kayla's soccer team, her accusations stuck. The court took her word as gospel, leaving me no room to defend myself. I poured everything into staying part of Kayla's life, spending over $11,000 on lawyers, and even enrolling in unnecessary anger management courses to prove my commitment. But nothing swayed the outcome. Each court appearance brought a new, fabricated tale from Vanessa. Stories of public meltdowns that never happened. The judge never questioned her claims. Kayla began to slip away. Some days, she'd cling to me, asking when she could stay longer at my house. Other times, she seemed afraid to even hold my hand. It was clear Vanessa was turning her against me. When Kayla turned 11, Vanessa remarried. Her new husband, Craig Dalton, was a polished CEO with wealth and charisma I couldn't match. He had a sprawling home, lavish vacations, and all the trappings a child could dream of. He slid effortlessly into the role of father, and Kayla embraced it quickly. Over time, connecting with her became nearly impossible. Phone calls went unanswered. Visits stopped entirely. Once, I brought her a custom charm bracelet engraved with our initials, A and K, and drove to their house on Christmas Eve to give it to her. Vanessa answered, already filming with her phone, accusing me of breaching court orders, and labeling it harassment. 2 days later, a restraining order arrived. That was the last time I tried to see Kayla in person. Eventually, Vanessa even changed Kayla's last name to Dalton. I only learned about it when a friend sent me a social media post of Kayla at a charity event, wearing a Dalton roofing shirt and calling Craig her proud dad. That night, I sat alone at my kitchen table, tears falling in silence. My daughter was gone, not in body but in every way that counted. Years went by. I settled in a small town 3 hours away, working as an electrician, repairing old machines with grease-stained hands and a heavy heart. No family, no partner. Just a quiet, solitary existence. Then 2 weeks ago a text arrived, "Can we talk?" No name, no context. I ignored it. The next day another message, "It's Kayla." My heart clenched. After a decade of silence, she was back. I didn't reply. My coworker, Harold, caught me staring at my phone and asked what was wrong. When I told him, he said bluntly, "She needs something. Guarantee it." He was spot on. The third message confirmed it. Vanessa had passed away from pancreatic cancer, and Craig had taken his own life shortly after. Now Kayla, grown and alone, her once perfect life shattered, was reaching out. Not out of love or regret, but because she needed help with the funeral, the estate, and the legal mess left behind. After years of treating me like a stranger, after letting another man take my place, after erasing me from her life, she wanted my support. I was torn, unsure how to feel. Then my brother Leo showed up at my door with a bag of muffins, looking like he was on a mission to save me from myself. "She's your daughter," he said sternly. "She's lost everything. You can't just act like she doesn't exist." I snapped back. "She's been acting like I don't exist for 8 years. But Leo wouldn't let it go. He shared the full story. Kayla had hidden Vanessa's cancer from the entire family. No one, not her aunts, cousins, or even her mother, got to say goodbye. While Vanessa was dying, Kayla secretly sold her grandmother's cherished family home and kept the money. That betrayal led Vanessa's whole family to disown her. But the story didn't end there. Craig's adult children, whom Kayla had pushed out of their father's life, were now suing her. They believed she'd manipulated Craig, vulnerable in his grief, into altering his will and insurance beneficiaries. They claimed he'd even begun the process of cutting her out of his will, but died before it was complete. Now Kayla faced a brutal lawsuit, with no one left to turn to accept me. The father she'd discarded like a forgotten memory. Leo urged me to call her. She was just a kid back then, he insisted. But she wasn't a child when she sold that house behind her dying mother's back. She wasn't a child when she isolated Craig's family in his final days. At 20, she knew exactly what she was doing. The next day, a final voicemail from Kayla arrived, her voice sharp with resentment. Fine. Be the guy who never shows up, like always. I'll tell everyone you abandoned me when I needed you most. It wasn't a plea for reconciliation. It was a threat, echoing her mother's tactics of twisting the truth to make me the villain. That was the last straw. I blocked her number. If she needed help, she could hire a lawyer, just like Vanessa always did. But the drama didn't stop. A week later, a subpoena landed in my mailbox. Craig's children were following through on their lawsuit, and I was being dragged into it as a witness. Everyone wanted to hear from the father Kayla had erased for a decade. When I entered the courtroom, I wasn't there as a heartbroken parent or a dutiful ally. I was done being anyone's pawn. Craig's son, Jason, had called me to testify. His lawyer got straight to the point. Are you Kayla Dalton's biological father? Yes, I replied, my voice steady. Though you wouldn't know it from how she's treated me for the past 10 years. The room went silent. I laid out everything, the restraining order, the ignored visits, how she took Craig's last name, how I learned about her wedding through a stranger's social media post. Then I delivered the gut punch. She hadn't even invited me to her wedding. Her stepfather had walked her down the aisle. She'd called me a threat, and now she expected me to defend her character in a courtroom fight over insurance and estate rights. The judge's eyebrow arched. Jason's lawyer pressed on. Do you believe Kayla manipulated Mr. Dalton in his final months? Without missing a beat, I said, I think Kayla learned a lot from her mother. How to use people and discard them when they're no longer useful. Kayla, dressed in a navy suit beside her lawyer, sat quietly, her face hollow. Not from exhaustion but from the weight of her choices. She didn't argue, didn't cry, didn't offer a defense. When the court recessed, I stepped outside for air. Jason followed. My dad used to talk about you, he said. He felt guilty for taking your place. He wanted to reach out, but Vanessa wouldn't allow it. I didn't know how to respond. He continued. You're the only one who's been honest in this whole mess. If you ever need work, my contracting firm could use an electrician. That hit me harder than any of Kayla's bitter words. Respect from the son of the man Kayla allegedly manipulated, it meant something. But the blows kept coming. That night, a folded letter appeared under my door, my name scrawled across it. It was from Kayla. Dad, if you can still call yourself that, it began. Thanks for proving what I always knew. That you vanish when things get hard. I came to you at my lowest, and you humiliated me in court. You've burned every bridge we had. Want the truth? Craig despised you. He said men like you never change. He was right. Goodbye. I read it over and over, then set it ablaze in the kitchen sink, watching it crumble to ash. No more guilt, no more wondering if I could have done more. But the story wasn't over. 3 weeks later, a private investigator named Denise called. She was working for one of Craig's former business partners, who suspected Kayla had forged legal documents before Craig's death. Denise asked if I had any of Kayla's emails or letters. I mentioned the note, but it was gone. It didn't matter. They already had a copy of Craig's final will, and the signature didn't match his handwriting. A forensic analyst had flagged it. This wasn't just a civil suit anymore. It was veering toward a criminal case, fraud, forgery, financial manipulation. If proven, Kayla could face prison. When I told Leo, he went silent, then muttered, almost to himself. I didn't realize it was that serious. She's not a kid anymore. I told him she was an adult facing the consequences of her actions. Soon after, Kayla's lawyer contacted me again, proposing a quiet settlement to salvage her reputation. They asked if I'd write a letter vouching for her character. I laughed and said, tell her to ask the man who walked her down the aisle. Then I hung up. Let her rebuild her life the hard way, just as I had. Let her forge her own reputation without tarnishing mine. For the first time, I wasn't the one being replaced or vilified. I was simply free. and that felt better than any apology ever could.